You're looking at
Okay, sounds great right now. I'm thinking a burger.
Tough decisions.
Okay, sounds great right now. I'm thinking a burger.
In one of the most infamous crimes to ever come out of Hong Kong, a woman is held captive, severely mistreated, and eventually murdered. However, what made this case so infamous is how they treated her after the fact.
Yo.
Got a packed schedule this fall and don't have much time to figure out what to cook? How about trying some more interesting food that's already chosen for you? With HelloFresh, you can try out a variety of chosen for you. With HelloFresh, you can try out a variety of
Poop.
In one of the most infamous crimes to ever come out of Hong Kong, a woman is held captive, severely In one of the most infamous crimes to ever come out of Hong Kong, a woman is held captive, severely
Yo, chat. Yo, chat. Yo, chat. Yo, chat. Yo, chat. Today we're doing something different today. We're gonna be live streaming live stream my reactions instead, and then like do what streamers do and like upload the parts there of the video. So yeah, that's what we're gonna say. So for today's theme, we have murder crime themes. So you guys can't see us, so I would. Unshy, I got you. How are y'all doing today? How are y'all doing today? This is the first video we have today. Hello Kitty murder in complete detail. So Hello Kitty murderer taking like a kid-friendly product and turning into something just violent and ugly and scary, like a crime as ugly as murder. Like, geez Louise, fam, geez. Like, geez, man, geez, So let's get into this, shall we? I don't have much things. I don't know really much about this crime, but let's get into it.
In one of the most infamous crimes to ever come out of Hong Kong, a woman is held captive, severely mistreated, and eventually murdered. However, what made this case so infamous is how they treated her after
That's a dirty-ass Hello Kitty plush.
The fact.
So this crime happened in Hong Kong, but how they treated, I guess, like the police or the government was like really bad. So I don't know if the Hong Kong Police Department tends to be corrupt. I'm not too sure if they are, but they could have a couple of slips ups here and now and then. It could happen to any police force.
On a packed schedule this fall and don't have much time to figure out what to cook? How about trying some more interesting food?
No free sponsor. Even though I'm all for clean eating. No.
Really like is the custom.
There's just too many steps to finding a therapist. It takes 5 minutes. They're probably all booked. Meet a great one tomorrow. Can't. I'm walking my sister's dog. Stop. You need therapy. Yeah.
With Rula, getting help is easier than talking yourself out of it.
You're one sentence away from launching your website with Base 44. Since the beginning of the internet, there's never been such a fun, fast...
You can change your meal preference. For this video, amazing. Recommended at home based by code 17 is probably a beyond site. Story of a woman out in Hong Kong named Fan Man Yi. Fan did not have the best life, to say the least. She was abandoned in her childhood, forcing her to grow up in an orphanage. However, this would only be until she reached the age of 15, as that orphanage had an age limit in place. Given that she was never
no one adopted
her. And had no place to live, she soon became homeless. Soon after that...
So they just like kicked her out on the street? Like just like, okay, you're 15, no one wants you, no one loves you. No one thinks you're no one thinks you're worth anything, so we're just gonna, put you on the street. Boom! They just kick you out like what is it? I have the perfect clip right here. What is it? Good fail throwing out. Like this pretty much right here.
She became addicted to drugs. Fan ended up having to resort to prostitution, working at a brothel to get by and even feed herself. When Fan Man Yi was in her early 20s, she was able to get a job as a dancer at the Empress Karaoke nightclub. She eventually fell for one of her clients, who was unfortunately another drug addict who only ended up enabling her. Despite this, they got married in 1996. Her husband, however, soon began mistreating her. Still, though, she stayed with the man, and they actually had 2 sons together over the next couple of years. Their fighting only worsened, though. The neighbors would often wake up to not only the sounds of the children screaming, but the sounds of the couple themselves screaming as well as they argued all throughout the night. By early 1997, Van had already started working as a prostitute again out at a brothel called the Romance Villa in Kowloon. After working there for
That's sad. Working as a prostitute to was it pay your bills? So people would be desperate for money because, like, to be fair, she doesn't really have a choice, you know.
a while, she ended up meeting a 34-year-old man named Chan Man Lok. Chan was said to have been a wealthy socialite well known throughout the area. Fan was immediately drawn to him as she was a prostitute who was addicted to drugs, and he was a drug dealer that also worked as a pimp. He would often pay her for long, all-night sessions where they would binge crystal meth, or ice, which he supplied. It wasn't too long before Fan was integrated into Chan's inner circle. She was there along with several of his little underlings, his henchmen, if you want to call them that. Chan Man Lok was a member of the Triads, a large Chinese organized crime syndicate. He wasn't someone to be messed with.
That's like the Chinese cartel, basically.
Hell, he wasn't even someone you should associate with for your own safety.
Shouldn't associate with gangs, period. Like any country, stay out of gangs, yo.
However, Fan got too comfortable around him regardless. One night, during one of their binges, she stole his wallet, gaining the equivalent of about $4,000 US. That would prove to be the biggest mistake of her life. Chan found out about this and was furious. She agreed to pay him back with $4,000 that she was to earn from her work. He wasn't happy with this, though, and demanded $10,000 of interest. Fan stated that she would need a good amount of time to pay that interest off fully. Chan Man Lok was furious about his stolen money. It wasn't even about the money, it was the fact that Fan even had the audacity to steal from him in the first place. In March of 1999, he got
pissed at like a prostitute. It was what's the was he said you're working with me forever. Like you're not getting away this time.
So in addition to making her work even more, the gang started taking their frustrations out on her as well. They began to hit her and strike her repeatedly very often. She would often be so bruised and battered that she couldn't even work. Despite this, the group would continue to get high and subject her to even more beatings. They enjoyed themselves.
Ah, damn, this reminds me of the Junko situation in Japan. Like that one crime where like they basically just beat her for pleasure. You know, that was like their sick game. Like those teenage boys who like affiliate with the Yakuza. Like just like someone because they're just taking out their anger on her. Like, oh my, men be disgusting. Like men be disgusting. Let's be real.
Themselves far too much while doing so, often laughing at her pain. This was when
Just pure sadism. Damn.
things got really out of hand, and you may be thinking it's already out of hand, and you would absolutely be right, but
They could always get worse.
It's about to get much, much worse.
Unfortunately, I think I know where this is going.
This is Mission Control. The code awaits your.
Oh my god, I don't really want to say what they're gonna do to her. I already kind of, because I already know how these gangs work. These sick-minded gangs. We've seen it before. The Junko case, time and time again.
The group that tortured Fan consisted of Chan Man Lok, the leader, Leung Wai Lung, a subordinate gangster of his who is said to have been either 19 or 21, and Leung Xing Cho, age 26, another one of his underlings.
Damn, they're all really young, like 20s to like late teens.
But there was soon one new member to that group, a 14-year-old minor named Ah Fong. She, although she had been reported to be one of the girlfriends of one of his underlings, ended up being a victim of Chan himself as he groomed her more and more over time. This girl, though, despite being very young and obviously manipulated, was ice cold herself. She very much enjoyed helping the group to mistreat Fan. She would even giggle and laugh hysterically while doing so. She took the
She's also insane.
Opportunity to get creative and would even come up with her own ways to brutalize the woman herself. She was always ready and willing to join in. The group, unsatisfied at the amount of money Fan was bringing in, continued to mistreat her more and more. They tied her up, punched her, and kicked her all over. They would force themselves on her repeatedly, as much as they wanted. They even forced her to eat excrement. They started hitting her with metal bars, hit her and stabbed her with kitchen utensils, smashed pieces of furniture over her, and even tied her up in a standing position to use her.
Oh my gosh, just torturing her because this is like a sick game for them because they probably get off. They get off to this shit
as a punching bag. It got to the point that one day alone, she ended up getting kicked in the head about 50 times. It has been said that Fan even got pregnant around this time, but the mistreatment continued regardless. When she was wounded, barely able to even move, the group would rub spices into her open wounds.
They're beating a pregnant woman.
To further ensure that she wouldn't be running away or moving much at all, they would burn her legs with hot candle wax
This could be worse than a Junko situation. Oh my gosh.
Repeatedly and even melt plastic over her legs. She was then forced to consume even more urine and excrement. The group would then force her to smile and say that she enjoyed all of these things. If she refused, they would just mistreat her even worse, getting even harsher with their punishments. All throughout this time, Fan's husband and kids wondered where she even went. They were left with nothing to do but worry about her and hope that she would come home. The group started getting more and more creative, utilizing anything they could find throughout the apartment that could possibly inflict pain, that could be used as a weapon. They would set plastic straws on fire and press them against the bottom of her feet until they were covered in painful burns and blisters. They would then hit her in the feet with sticks and whatever else they could find. All throughout this, they would throw chili oil onto her wounds and dump oyster sauce onto her face. They then made her drink the combination of oils afterwards. It was a game they played. If she didn't pretend to be happy, then they would beat her harder. They told her to smile while they burned her. It was a fun atmosphere, said Ah Fong.
Okay, I don't know if this is worse than Junko's situation because they also burnt her in, Grave Junko, but it's pretty much on the same level. But damn. Poor woman, oh my gosh.
It got to the point where they started using Fan as a toilet, directly urinating onto her face and sometimes even into her mouth. If she spat any of it out, she was severely punished. Ah Fong once even defecated into a shoebox and forced Fan to eat it, which she thought was hilarious. The group started wrapping her in electrical wires and vanished. Ah Fong once even defecated into a shoebox and forced Fan to eat it, which she thought was hilarious. The group started wrapping her in electrical wires and hanging her from a hook on the ceiling. They would then mistreat her in any way that they wanted, usually hitting her with iron bars, and leave her there overnight. Eventually, they stopped feeding her entirely.
Yo, eventually she is going to die. Like, I'm surprised she's not dead yet. Oh my gosh, she's taking so much beatings and there's no medical attention. Her body's probably bruised, burned, bloody, broken. Oh my gosh, no.
The bodily fluids they would subject her to became her only form of sustenance. They continued to pack her wounds with dirt, spices, salt, and really anything else they could find to make sure that she never felt any sort of relief. Needless to say, after seeing the shape she was in, potential clients started refusing her services, meaning that she was no longer pulling in any money for the group. Fan would lie on the floor, starving, drifting in and out of consciousness, while the group hung out and watched TV or played video games. She was broken, and playing with her wasn't so much fun after that, but we carried on anyway. There wasn't really anything else to do, said Ah Fong. Ah Fong would gladly participate in any of the horrible things the group did to Fan, enjoying it all the way, admittedly laughing at everything that happened to her. It was for fun, she later said. The full details of what Ah Fong did herself have never been revealed, but it's undoubtedly a very long list, even by her own admission. One night, the group
She's own kind of messed up.
decided to go out for some
She's
drinks.
also a victim because she's like the pimp's girlfriend. So
To make sure that Fan couldn't escape, they did what they usually did.
she's
They
also a minor, so you gotta take that into. Actually, nah, she's doing terrible shit.
tied her up and threw her onto the bathroom floor, locking the door behind them. This sort of mistreatment could only go on for so long. After about a month of this, on April 15th of 1999, Fan finally succumbed to her wounds and passed away, cold, alone, and in pain while her captors were out of the house. After a few days, the group came back to the apartment. Ah Fong stated that she had to use the restroom. When she went into the restroom, she found Fan deceased on the floor. The men began to
She would, with those beatings and like everything they were doing to her, obviously, eventually she would have died. Because like there was no medical attention, like, nothing, and they just kept like urinating and pissing and shitting on her wounds. Oh my gosh, like the level of torture she went through. Poor woman. Oh my gosh.
discuss amongst themselves. They needed a way to get rid of the body, but they couldn't decide on which method would be best. They even argued about what likely caused her death, obliviously, most of them believing that it was probably an overdose that did her
Hong Kong, right?
in. Most experts agree, though, as you can assume, that it was more likely the actual injuries that led to her death. So, deciding to put a pin in it for now, they decided to go to the arcade and play some video games, all while Fan laid in the bathroom. After a while, they came back home, went to sleep, and did nothing about the problem.
They didn't give a shit. They just played Pac-Man. He's like, okay, she's dead. We're just gonna go play Pac-Man. Fuck yeah, I don't give a shit.
While completely high, Chan came to a conclusion. He gathered up his little posse and told them now she must be destroyed. They put her into the bathtub.
Like, she isn't destroyed enough, dude? They're gonna do more to her? It's like, okay, now she must be destroyed. Or maybe like they mean like they're gonna like burn her body or something, but like I don't like that. They're gonna like they saying destroyed, like what are you gonna do? Oh my gosh. Are you gonna do like more like sick torture to like a dead body? Oh my god. I hope you don't do in nest, if you know what I'm saying.
And got to work with a handsaw. Once the body was divided up into more manageable portions, they cooked
Yeah, this is like some forward timing type shit right here.
Each piece to prevent further decay and to get rid of some of the smell, boiling the pieces on the stove. Chan woke up Ah Fong, who was sleeping, and waved a bag of guts in front of her. He told her to go put them into some hot water to stop them from smelling. Leong Xing Cho was in the middle of boiling the head himself and called Ah Fong over to come and look at it. She said that she was scared and didn't want to look, but he said, "It's okay, just pretend you're watching TV." She decided to give it a peek and decided that he was right. It looked like something out of a horror movie. Given that this had already taken 10 hours, the group started getting pretty hungry. How they could even get an appetite while all of this is going on is maybe one of the biggest...
They are psychopaths. Like, this is like an ordinary thing to them. They're not desensitized to this shit. Oh my gosh. They're just sensitized to gore, I'm pretty sure.
Mysteries about this case, if you ask me. While boiling Fan's head in a pot, stirring it ever so often, they decided to throw some noodles onto the adjacent burner. They used the same spoon to stir their soup as they did to stir the head, alternating between the two. By the time their meal was
Okay, so cannibalism. One thing, they're probably gonna die from that because that's like a form of that's gotta be a form of cross contamination, right? Right? Like you're probably I can't even tell what type of disease you get from doing that. Like there's probably no one really does that except for psychopaths.
over, the head was now nothing but bone. They decided to take the skull and sew it into the head of one of their Hello Kitty plushies, a large mermaid one.
Oh, that's why it's called the Hello Kitty murder case.
This is obviously where the name of the case comes from. It's still unknown why they even decided to go through the trouble of doing this. Given how drug-fueled the whole operation was, it's safe to say that if there even was a reason, it might not make a lot of sense now. For unknown reasons, they decided to keep some other bits as well, namely a tooth and some organs. However, they disposed of the rest in the apartment complex's garbage. Things were quiet for about a month. It seemed that they had gotten away with all that they had done. That all changed 1 month later in May. Ah Fong made her way out to a local police station. She told the police that she was being haunted by a ghost, oddly enough. She told the police that this particular ghost had been tied up in electrical wire and murdered. The police, though, given that this was simply a ghost story, didn't take her very seriously at all. They brushed it off, assuming that she was just having nightmares or being silly. This was, however, until Ah Fong told them that she had played a part in the murder
You could really see like the bloodstains on it. Holy shit.
of this particular woman. This obviously changed things drastically. The police asked her for more details and eventually followed her out to where all the carnage took place, the apartment. This is where they discovered that her nightmares were very much indeed based in reality. Inside, she pointed them to the Hello Kitty mermaid doll, and inside, they found the skull. The whole group was found, arrested, taken in, and taken to trial. Ah Fong, which likely isn't even her real name, by the way, it's likely a pseudonym given to her by the court system, decided to testify against the other members of the group. She told the police that she was Chan Man Lok's girlfriend, but she was also very likely one of his prostitutes as well. When asked why they had done all of
But she did bad shit too. She was laughing at her. She did, and she had her own form of torture too. You're just as bad as these fuckers.
this, she simply said, "I have a feeling it was for fun." This case quickly became a spectacle all throughout Hong Kong. Most citizens had never heard of a case coming anywhere near this magnitude before. Being a pretty safe modern city, they couldn't imagine something so sinister going on so close by. One element of this case that fascinated them was
Something of Asian crimes, right? They're usually safe, but once in a while they have some sort of outlandish, like the weirdest crimes of all times, like out of nowhere. So I think it's because since like it rarely happens, like when it does, it's usually something just so weird, or just something that's so like terrifying or and outlandish. You know, it's usually safe, so it's like this time is it's just outlandish, the most worst crime you can think of humanly. Because, you know, it rarely happens, right? So it's,
The terrifying juxtaposition of one of the most grisly crimes they'd ever heard of meeting with one of the cutest icons they could think of. The mixture of horror and innocence stood out to a good amount of people.
it's like kind of like a build-up, you know. You have like, you know, it's calm for a while, and then bam, bam, it's like thunder. It just hits you, and it's like the most fucked up crime of all time.
The trial would go on to last for 6 months. Ah Fong went on to testify in exchange for complete immunity. In order to placate Fan's ghost and finally get some peace, she spilled all the gritty details. Every single disgusting detail of every single disturbing thing that the group did. She said that this was in order to release.
Hold on, guys.
Her guilt and stop the haunting. During the trial, material evidence relating to the case was presented to the courtroom. This included the refrigerator where the body was kept, the pots used in the cooking, and the actual skull itself. It has been said that the stench radiated throughout the entire courtroom. Psychiatrists evaluated the 3 men, who went on to describe them to the courts as being completely remorseless. There was one massive roadblock to the case, though. Given the way that Fan's body ended up, there wasn't any clear, for sure reason to find out what actually had happened to her. They couldn't come up with a concrete cause of death given the evidence that they had to go off of. It could have been from the abuse, or it could have actually been due to an overdose. As a result, the men weren't convicted of murder, but instead of manslaughter. The jury had come to believe that they had indeed caused her death, but they couldn't agree on whether or not there was intent. They couldn't rule out that the men did intend to kill her, but they also couldn't rule out that they didn't. There was simply no way to know for sure. Despite all of the doubts and the charges being reduced to manslaughter, the court justice, Peter Nguyen, was having none of it. In December of 2000, he sentenced the three to life
Peter Nguyen, that's a Vietnamese name.
in prison. Sadly enough, though, this sentence did come with the possibility of parole. It wouldn't be for
That courtroom, that dead body smelled in the courtroom. Oh my. I do not need to know what dead body smells like. It probably smells horrendous.
20 years, though. Never in Hong Kong in recent years has a court heard of such cruelty, depravity, callousness, brutality, violence, and viciousness, he said. The public is entitled to protection from people such as you. While if this had taken place in mainland China, all three would have likely been executed pretty swiftly, Hong Kong did not have a death penalty. Fan's husband came out and spoke of the sentencing. It seems that he was satisfied with them getting life in prison. He did, though, end by saying, "But how can I ever forget?"
He kind of just needs to just rot. Like
Off
how shit he is.
Fong was released, free of charges, into foster care. It's currently unknown where she is now or how she turned out. The lawyers
Okay, so you're saying potential murderers living in that country, still alive, who've done unspeakable things. Because who knows, they didn't even document what she did to her.
of the three men tried to appeal the case in 2003, but they had no luck. The sentence was upheld. Those three monsters weren't going anywhere. In 2014, the courts finally handed Fan's skull, the only remaining evidence of her body, over to her family, who had it cremated. The apartment building, located at 31 Granville,
As like a parent, being handed your daughter's or your son's skull. Just think of that. I don't wish that on anybody.
Road, Tsim Sha Tsui, Hong Kong, where the murder took place, was eventually demolished entirely in September of 2012. After several years, in 2016, it was rebuilt as a hotel that still exists to this day. The actual location where the murder took place is now, by some dark irony, a restaurant. 20 years came and went, and in
You for that. Oh my god. Like imagine like a tourist guy is eating, like a foreigner is eating there, right? Like he was just like, he's just visiting, Hong Kong for, the tourist stuff, right? He's a tourist, and then he goes to this restaurant. They just, people like some drug addicts, like some triads and drug addicts were like cooking a girl's dead body in there.
2020, it seems that the trio never did get their parole, as there's no news out there of their release.
One of those pots were used for, used for fried rice, was used for cooking her limbs.
That is, except for one of the men. The Yongxing Cho was actually released in April of 2014. It seems that his lawyer was able to appeal and convince the courts that there wasn't sufficient evidence against him. As you might assume, it wasn't too long before he was on the police's radar again. Just recently, in January of 2022, while he was working as a waiter, he groped the chest of a female minor, only 10. And even more recently, he was sentenced to 12 months in prison for that. So as of the writing of this video, he is back in prison. Time will tell if they end up seeing parole in the future.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. That's all I'm going to say. Hallelujah. Thank God. Thank God. Justice. Hopefully hopefully that piece of shit just rots in there.
There ended up being a few movies released throughout the years that told the story of this case.
Really?
One of them was called Human Pork Chop with, my God, have some tact, come on. Another was called There's a Secret in My Soup. This case even became well enough known overseas that it was featured in an episode
Some sort of sick joke.
of Bones, an American crime drama.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking.
To this very day, Fan Man-yi's memory is kept alive every year when citizens of Hong Kong celebrate her life on her birthday with a candlelight vigil in the center of the city. Once again, thank you for watching my videos. If you found it interesting, please give it a like. It helps me out in the algorithm. And if you find content like this enjoyable, feel free to subscribe. If you don't mind, go ahead and follow me on social media. I mean, you know how YouTube is with content like this. If anything were ever to happen to this channel, that'd probably be the only way you'd ever hear about it. If you feel like supporting the channel even further, I do have a Patreon account, which I keep linked down in the description.
So after this, man, dire trip, very informative, very informative. Thank you for educating us. Thank you. Oh my gosh. So the 14-year-old girl who's girlfriends with like one of the other drug man, one of the pimp leaders. She still could be walking around to this day, living a normal life, without facing pure justice. Oh my god, she was involved too. She was that, and she did her own forms of torture. Oh my god. Well, I'm glad, those three men got what they deserved. They rot in prison. That's what they got. On next one, the school shooter who wasn't charged with a crime by the same guy, Dire Trip.
When someone carries out an attack on a school, it's usually assumed that they're not going to live to tell the tale. Sometimes they do stick around, but they're subject to some very harsh sentencing. However, today we have the story of a young boy who faced arguably little to no consequences.
That's insane. That is insane.
The majority of mass shooters tend to die in their attacks, and for the very few that do live on,
They tend to just blow their head off after they do, the bad thing they do, like Yosemite Samming a school. They usually just blow their head off because they don't want to face the crime and they don't want to rot in jail for the rest of their lives.
They usually get no less than life in prison. Very, very rarely they'll get sent to something like a mental institution, but it's usually under the condition that they'll probably never get out. It's very rare that a mass shooter faces almost none of that, and that the police's hands are basically tied. Today is the story of a boy named Kosta Kecmanovic. He came from a prominent, well-off family in Belgrade in Serbia. His father, Vladimir, was a well-known and wealthy radiologist. Meanwhile, his mother, Miljana, was an assistant professor of microbiology at the University of Belgrade. When it came to how strict his family was, Kosta said that his house didn't really have any special rules in particular. He said that he would have his phone taken away from time to time, but nothing more extreme than that. However, he has also stated that his mom was very demanding when it came to his schoolwork, expecting him to be the best in every single subject he tried, often acting disappointed in him if he was anything less than flawless. His parents expected that he and his sister be friendly to everyone around them and fairly well cultured. Still, he said that he had a good relationship with his father and that his mother was kind, compassionate, intelligent, and fair. His parents got along well, as did he and his sister. At some point in his childhood, Kosta's father took him to a shooting range. One around them and fairly well cultured. Still, he said that he had a good relationship with his father and that
Good relationship with his father, normal childhood.
His mother was kind, compassionate, intelligent, and fair. His parents got along well, as did he and his sister.
No problems at home. He got along with his sister.
At some point in his childhood, Kosta's father took him to a shooting range. There, an instructor let him hold his first gun. At the shooting range, it was usually his father who taught him how to load the gun, change magazines, and actually shoot it. This gained Kosta a lot of approval from his father, who he said admired his ability to shoot accurately. Back at home, Kosta's father also secured their gun. He had put the gun into a gun safe with a 3-digit passcode. There was even a device with a passcode on the gun's trigger inside the safe. At school, Kosta seemed to do decently well. He had friends, performed well academically, and even played on the
Wasn't bullied, because a lot of most of the school shooters, or at least all of them, they were bullied and outcasted in life.
basketball team. However, it is rumored that he was bullied, performed well academically, and even played on the basketball team. However, it is rumored that he was bullied a bit in one class, although it hasn't been confirmed and has been doubted as well. Regardless of what really happened, we do know that his parents decided to take him out of his class and put him into another. In this new class, he seemed to get along reasonably well with the other students, although he was quiet. Other students in his class described him, saying, "He was quiet and a good pupil. He recently joined our class." Another said, "He was having good grades, but we didn't know much about him. He was not so open with everybody." While he was still in elementary school, Costa decided to go down a very dark path, and frustratingly, he has offered very little insight as to why that actually was. While he was rumored to have been bullied, he didn't make that claim himself. He instead said that he liked playing the game Valorant, and when he watched a movie that mentioned mass murder, he thought about carrying out a similar plan himself. It's notable that he said the movie only mentioned mass murder, and not even that it accurately portrayed it, meaning that it doesn't seem to have taken much of a push to send Costa spiraling. Throughout the month of April 2023, Costa got to planning. He began to draw different maps of the classrooms and layout of his school. He put together a hit list of the students he wanted to kill, failing to provide a reason as to why he wanted to kill them in the first place. Costa's school,
Maybe he has like a disease where like he has like a brain condition where like he acts normal in the service, but like there's like another part of him, like a demon. Not a demon, but like a bad part of him that wants to do the bad things.
Vladislav Ribnikar Model Elementary School was a public elementary school in the Vračar area of Belgrade, a fairly affluent urban area. The history of the school, or at least the previous iterations of it, went back to the 1700s. It was a school with about 1,000 students that was focused on French language education. 50% of the school curriculum was taught in French only, in fact. The school has gotten quite a high level of recognition over the years, coming to be seen by some as a school for the children of elites. For a long time, Costa had focused on how to get the guns out of his father's gun safe. While he was unable to get into it, he looked up how to obtain firearms himself. Given that he was only 13 at this point in the story, that was going to be nearly impossible. Even if he could find an adult willing to buy a gun for someone underage, doing so for someone who was only 13 would be out of the question for most people. Instead, he decided to focus more on the gun safe again. After a long struggle with trial and error, he eventually cracked the codes and got inside. Costa got to work preparing some crude homemade bombs in his home, stashing them away for his upcoming killing spree.
How does he know how to make a homemade bomb? That's concerning.
Took the guns out of his father's gun safe and hid them under his own bed, waiting for the time to strike. It was now May 1st, 2023, and he felt that he would be ready to go any time now.
Bring your agent into Monday.com. Your Claude, ChatGPT, and Copilot agent.
Costa woke up on the morning of May 3rd, ready and willing to commit the massacre he had been planning for about a month. He pulled out his father's two guns, a 9mm CZ75 Shadow 2 and a 22 LR Ruger Mk3 Standard, along with two homemade bombs he had made out of gasoline. He then grabbed his hit list so he wouldn't forget any of his targets.
How do you know how to make a bomb?
For reasons that we can only speculate, on his way out of his family's apartment that morning, he decided to carve a small phrase into the door. The phrase translated to, "Costa, you naive cuckold, we're waiting for you." It still isn't known what he meant by this phrase. He may have been trying to make it appear as if someone else was carrying out the attack. He may have wanted it to appear that someone had bullied him or threatened him that morning. The most likely reasoning seems to be that he wanted to appear mentally unstable. In the end, it isn't clear and we're left with little more than speculation. Costa made his way out to school with his weaponry in his backpack. He arrived at school at about 8:40 a.m. When he made his way inside, he immediately pulled one of the guns out of his backpack and held it up. The school security guard put himself in front of Costa to stop him, but Costa fired. The security guard collapsed to the ground, leaving him to continue further into the school. In the hallway were two girls acting as hall monitors. Walking towards the classroom, Costa pulled up his gun and fired at the two girls as well. With them both out of the way, he reloaded his gun as he prepared to enter into his classroom. Costa then entered into his classroom. He fired at the teacher as students began to duck under their desks. While many students in the school had escaped through a back door, the students in the classroom were left with little more to do than hide and pray. Costa shot the history teacher in the classroom before firing off rounds at numerous other children. He came to kill 6 girls, 1 boy, and wound 5 others. He then left the classroom and quickly ran out into the hallway. He exited the school and made his way out to the courtyard. That was when he would do something truly unexpected. Costa released the magazine from his gun and dropped it onto the ground while walking down the steps. He then pulled out his phone and called the police himself. On the phone with the police, he told them that he had been taken over by fear and panic and that his breathing felt funny. He told them that it was the right thing to do to call the police and tell them what he had done. He said that he was a psychopath and that he just needed to calm down. In the end, his entire...
Okay, so he confessed himself. That's like a first. Usually school shooters don't confess themselves. You usually get caught. He's like he did it. And he was the first one to call the cops. No one else.
Their attack had lasted only 2 minutes. In that time, he had fired 52 shots in total. Costa stood around in the courtyard until the police made their way out. They quickly threw him into handcuffs upon their arrival. When they asked him why he had just done such a thing, he responded with, "I shot because I am a psychopath." In his young age, it seems that Costa
He is. I mean, he admits it.
thought that the term psychopath just meant someone who was crazy in general. With the writing he had carved into his door, it seems that he was confusing psychopathy with schizophrenia. As a result, he wasn't very consistent in what he was trying to portray.
Is he schizophrenic?
The police placed a coat over his head and let him outside of the school. Many parents had already gathered outside, waiting to hear whether their kids had lived or died. The entire street was shut down and blocked off as the police quickly began their investigation. The media quickly gathered around the school, where they would begin to hear about what had happened inside. One of the teachers spoke of the bravery of the school security guard, Dragan Valhovic, saying, "He wanted to prevent the tragedy and he was the first victim." By the time it was all over, 10 people had died. 8 of them were girls, 2 of which were the hall monitors. One of them was a boy and one was the security guard himself. Their names were 11-year-olds Bojana Asovic and Anna Bojovic, 12-year-old Katarina Martinovic, 13-year-olds Mara Angelkovic, Emma Kobilski, and Sofia Nejic. The 14-year-olds were Angelina Achimovic,
Are these German names?
Andrea Kicic, and Adriana Dukic. And of course, there was the 53-year-old security guard, Dragan Valhovic. In the end, few of those who died were on his hit list. The only fatalities from his list were the 3 14-year-olds, Angelina, Adrija, and Adriana, and one of the 13-year-olds, Mara Angelkovic. This is out of 16 names total. 6 other students and the teacher had also been injured.
Like random. He's like, okay, they were just the first person you saw.
2 of the boys and 1 of the girls were taken to the University Children's Clinic in Belgrade. Both of the boys had been shot several times in their legs. The girl had been shot in the head and had to undergo emergency surgery. Another boy, who was wounded in the spine, was transferred to a hospital in Chicago in the US to get surgery a little later. Quickly after the shooting occurred, a blood drive was opened at a nearby institute. Many people came to contribute. The teacher that had been injured, 52-year-old history teacher Tatiana Stevanovic, had been shot 3 times and had to undergo multiple surgeries at the Clinical Center of Serbia. In the end, she was left unable to walk or use her left arm. It wasn't too long before the police released Costa's name to the media, although given his age, there wasn't much else that they could say about him. The prosecutor's office gave the details that he was 13 years old and in the 7th grade, but that was about it. Still, it wasn't long before pictures of him from his yearbook were posted all over the news. His eyes were censored at first, but the full picture without the censorship leaked shortly after. In the coming weeks and months, a good number of
He doesn't even look like a school shooter. He just looks like a normal kid.
different photos of Costa began to spread on
School shooters, they have like a look. Like you just tell, oh yeah, he will pew pew up a school.
On social media. His identity certainly didn't remain a secret for long. There was an even bigger problem with Costa's age, though. Thanks to a law called the Juvenile Criminal Offenders and Criminal Protection of Juveniles Act, children in Serbia don't reach the age of criminal responsibility until they were 14 years old. That meant that, because Costa was born in June, he was only a mere month too early to meet that age. No matter what happened or how the case developed, the prosecutors could not charge him with any crime whatsoever.
Love Roblox? Earn Roblox digital...
That legal system. Bro.
It appeared that Costa was most likely going to walk free. While he would be open to a very open and shut case of expulsion from the school, it didn't seem like he was going to face many other repercussions, if any. Instead, his case was referred to the Center for Social Work. It was up for the social workers to decide what action, if any, would be taken moving forward. The possibilities were few, with talks of moving him to a different family or placing him into an inpatient facility for his mental health being commonly discussed. After a short while, it was decided that Costa would be taken to a psychiatric hospital in Belgrade, the Child and Adolescent Neurology and Psychiatry Clinic. He was given a drug test and found not to be under the influences of any substances whatsoever. With that, it was up to the hospital staff, police, and the Serbian government to decide where to go next.
What is in Serbia?
Very quickly after the news of Costa's attack spread, rumors began to circulate that he had been heavily bullied by the classmates he had killed. Little did anyone know, he had actually only transferred to his new class very recently, and it was reported that he didn't really interact with anyone. Still, many people online, especially younger people, took to his defense. He saw an unusually enormous amount of support on platforms.
Well, I feel the pain, brother. They drove him to this. I'm on Costa's side. Nobody understands him. Nobody. He was alone. Nobody understands him. So he lost himself. Again, sympathizing with school purers. What the hell are we doing? I love Costa. Why? He called the police he called the police himself. That's good, but I'm praying for him to get out of police. I don't know how to call it. Pray for him, guys. No. Free my boy Costa. No. Demons are not born, they are made. No, this is not going to happen. Only one person knows.
Forms with younger users like TikTok, with many.
Never bully the quiet kid. Well, number one, never bully a quiet kid. Jesus Christ. Now the quiet kid has a stereotype. What if he's just like a chill guy, and like people think, like every time he reaches like his pocket, or every time he reaches to his backpack, they think he's gonna like. That's why I feel bad for like the quiet kids. I was about at one point a quiet kid, but no one thought like I was like a school pure or whatever. But damn. PUBG Mobile 8 killed Vector. Oh my god.
Many of them saying that the supposed bully.
Well, one, no, okay. People are not born. People are not born violent. They're just created by the people around them. Shut the what?
He's had probably deserved it. The president of Serbia, Aleksandar Vučić, gave a public address
So this happened in Serbia.
shortly after the shooting. He said that he intended to propose new gun measurements to the government. Given the backlash about Costa not having been charged with a crime, he said that he would also work to lower the age of criminal responsibility from 14 to 12. The government began adopting the new policy about guns within a day. It was announced that current gun permits would be temporarily suspended, that new permits would require more psychological testing, and that 1,200 police officers would be hired to patrol near schools. The education minister at the time, Branko Ružić, announced that the country would take part in 3 days of mourning starting on May 5th. Classes would be suspended as well. The Institute of Health even put a few numbers in place where kids could inquire about counseling or support. However, this same education minister would prove to become very controversial when he quickly blamed the attack on, quote, the cancerous, pernicious influence of the internet, video games, so-called Western value.
I mean, that's fair. He was playing Valorant. Because usually I haven't heard of a Valorant school shooter, but I've heard Fortnite school shooter. Crazy. But even then, I think they say he was schizophrenic, right? So maybe something in him just triggered that, or something in him just like popped the idea to go haywire, even though he wasn't really vengeful. He wasn't really bullied.
His sentiment wasn't all.
He had a good life. He had a good relationship with his sister. His parents were together. He lived in a safe neighborhood.
Too uncommon for the country, with the pro-Russian sentiment and anti-Western language having grown in intensity in recent years. Still, many were quick to point out that Russia is no stranger to school shootings and stabbings, and even hosts a good number of hate groups and gore websites online. To make things even worse, the education minister.
I know Russia's known for the weapons, but damn.
Was caught in a photo, posing with a gun and an attractive woman trying to look all cool and badass while at the same time denouncing guns to the public. More controversy came about when many women online began to label the attack as a misogynistic mass shooting. This was based on nothing more than the fact that most of the fatalities were girls, and ignored that many of the boys in the class were also shot multiple times and only survived out of pure luck.
At Regeneron, we're in it for science that dares.
I mean, I think they just happened to be in his way. So it's like, okay, you're the one who's going down today. Like, he didn't really pick or choose, or did he? Because he had a list. So was he actively choosing who to shoot? I remember he did have a list.
The names actually on Costa's hit list were also boys, with the list being split pretty evenly. Later, it was rumored that he was part of some hate groups online.
Okay, so like, he didn't really kill everyone on his list, but like he. It was like split 50-50 between girls and boys.
But it wasn't proven. Rumors also began to spread at the school that a girl had turned Costa down for being too nice, but those claims were also hearsay. Regardless, Costa was labeled as an incel, despite being very young and there being no evidence to support that claim. With the police unable to charge Costa, they began to close in on his parents. His father, Vladimir, was questioned at a hearing on May 5th at the prosecutor's office. He denied having committed any sort of crime in relation to the shooting. Still, the prosecutor opted to keep him in custody for the time being. They said that he had trained his son for the attack, saying that teaching him how to use a gun when he was younger than 10 was inappropriate for his age. They said that if his son was able to simply brute force his way into the gun safe, then they must not have been secured that well. The court approved his detention, and it was said that he would be charged with a crime called grave acts against public security. Around that time, Costa's phone was sent in to forensics to see if they could gain any knowledge from it. Costa asked the staff at the psychiatric clinic to give him a new phone so he could keep talking to his friends online. It seemed that he had fully realized that he likely wasn't going to face punishment and didn't seem to care about what he had done. Just in the week after the attack, Costa inspired a lot of kids his age to do the same thing, or at least threaten to do the same thing. This led to a whole slew of new arrests. On May 5th, another 13-year-old from Krushevats posted on Instagram that he would, quote, repeat this massacre on Friday. The next day, 6 arrests were made. Another young girl filmed a video for TikTok where she showed support for Costa and made fun of the victims. Another 3 boys were arrested after posting
Okay, why do girls do that? They just they glorify a school, like some school shooter. Like why do they do that? Guys, I have a headache right now. I have a small headache right now. So, but okay, so like why do they do that? Why like what turns them on about a boy pew-pewing a school? Like, what's hot about that? Why glorify that? Please tell me why. No berserk. Tell me why. What made you say? W enemy, by the way.
Pictures of weapons that they said they would be taking to school. Another 17-year-old was arrested after making vague threats that more than 30 people would die in his city. Another 22-year-old was arrested after saying that a similar attack would take place in a different city. The day after that, on the 7th, another man was arrested after saying that he would commit a copycat crime, and one day later on the 8th, an 18-year-old posted a drawing of his classroom with bloody figures lying near their desks as
Why do they glorify this? Like, what's so attractive? What's so hot about this? Like, why? Like, pew, pew, pew. Oh my god, that's so hot. Oh my god. Like, what?
one figure held a handgun. Meanwhile, Costa's mother was holding out hope that the hospital wouldn't continue to house her son much longer. The institution said that holding
He needs to stay there. Let me keep it a buck with you, lady.
him in the facility would be subject to periodic revision, meaning that they would hold a review on what to do with him every once in a while. His mother excitedly agreed to this decision, granting permission immediately. The same day, the Serbian Ministry of Internal Affairs offered a 1-month amnesty for surrendering illegal or unregistered weapons and ammunition, meaning that citizens would be allowed to hand over their firearms with no questions asked. After a while, it was shown to be a success. 78,302 guns and well over 4 million rounds of ammunition were handed over. Still, the arrests weren't slowing down. The next day on the 9th, the police arrested another boy who was planning to carry out a similar attack with a bomb. It was actually the FBI who found him and notified the police in Serbia about him. Another boy was arrested when he spread the false information that Costa had been released and was on his way to kill half the survivors at his school. 2 more minors were arrested for posting pictures of themselves holding guns on social media with ominous captions. Finally, one more was taken in for showing a strong amount of support for Costa online and bad-mouthing the school. That was only the 9th, though. The next day on the 10th, there would be even more.
Russia's love for firearms relates to this shit?
An 18-year-old was arrested for saying he would be taking an...
Americans do this as well, especially girls they post, ain't for the Columbine share, they were posting TikToks glorifying him. So
automatic rifle to his own school.
I remember I got a comment on one of my other school shooter videos about that case. So saying the Columbine shooter was glorified by a bunch of girls on TikTok.
And a 15-year-old was arrested after making threats of shooting his classmates. Many of the parents at Costa's school had banded together to demand that classes be ended for the school year. However, that same month, the school...
They need a gun safety... What's it called? A gun safety assembly.
...actually reopened and continued holding classes. This was with at least 6 police officers present on campus at all times, but after some backlash, all of the students were sent to a different local elementary school in the afternoons. In the coming weeks, the arrests would only continue. The country's disenfranchised youth had gone crazy in support for Costa and what he had done. On May 15th, 2 14-year-old girls were arrested. One threatened her classmates and showed support for Costa on social media, and another had actually acted on her threats, cutting her classmate with a knife before being stopped. Another school had to be completely evacuated when a still unknown person threatened to shoot it up. Then, in June, a man left a baseball cap with a faked bullet inside of it in front of Costa's school, believed to have been a vague threat. By the time the chaos had largely subsided, criminal charges were filed against 82 different students for their threats and actions. 29 of them faced further legal action. The sad thing is, there were many more who were spared, as, just like Costa, they weren't quite 14 and the new policies hadn't taken effect.
So it's lack of laws, because I guess it hasn't happened before for them, so they didn't even know what to call the crime. Shit, my fault, fam.
Against Costa's mother as well as his father by this point. They had suspected that, at the least, she was guilty of neglect. They asked her to testify on her son's physical and mental well-being, his upbringing, their family dynamics, and his interactions with kids his age. She said that she never observed anything abnormal and refused to elaborate. All she would say was that he seemed sluggish while getting ready that day, but otherwise nothing was out of the ordinary. She said that she had figured that Costa was injured in the attack, not that he was the perpetrator. In addition to the parents, the prosecutor's office kicked off an investigation into the Partisan Practical Shooting Club, the shooting range where Costa had practiced. The club's president insisted that Costa had never practiced there. He said that he joined his father, but he had never fired a gun himself. The prosecutor's office didn't really believe him, and there are photos of him firing the gun at what appears to be that gun range. Eventually, Costa's nanny came to be questioned by the police, although she wasn't suspected of anything. She told them everything she knew about his upbringing, family life, and habits. The school psychologist was similarly brought in and asked the same questions. Then many more family members were brought in as well to tell their side of the story. In June, it was determined by talking to Costa himself, his schoolmates, his family, and various others that he hadn't actually been bullied in his school. All that conclusion did was make the motive in the case even more unclear. Costa still wouldn't own up to anything aside from the fact that he had heard about mass murder in a movie and thought it would be interesting to do himself. Nevertheless, he was held on 24-hour police surveillance and was held in an area of the hospital where escape would be nearly impossible. The government of Serbia finally decided to end the school year early. If the students wanted to attend school until the end of the year on the 20th, they would be allowed to, but most of the classes they would take would be in the form of prep classes or classes about developing emotional skills. Parents and teachers were shocked as the decision came more than a month after the shooting took place and there was no announcement made in advance. It just happened one morning. The teachers weren't even told how to grade the schoolwork just to make it happen. The decision was called late, hasty, performative, and embarrassing. All this time, Costa's dad was still being held in detention. When it came time to be freed, his detention had been extended, twice in June alone. By the time July came around, it was further extended for 3 more months. The High Court in Belgrade also forbid the family from getting rid of any of their property. It was found that they owned property in several different cities in total. Eventually, Costa's mother was detained as well and put into custody herself. This was because she was caught trying to flee the country with her daughter. While she did say they were only going on a short vacation as a recommendation from a therapist, this was heavily doubted. Costa's father's money was transferred to the court until the remainder of his proceedings were finished. In July, the case once again brought massive controversy as, for some reason, Costa's face was plastered all over clothing sold at an online shop based in Morocco. It isn't known why Morocco took a fascination with the young shooter unless they just thought it would make some good money. The site actually advertised the shirt as well. It wasn't hidden by any means. The shirts became somewhat popular, and the website even stated that they would ship them to...
Why? Why Morocco? Why? I like your football team, but jeez. Shout out to Morocco, you guys are cool.
Serbia. This understandably...
Why? Why?
...led to a lot of outrage. Later on in July, Costa was questioned again. Many of the victims' family members attended the questioning along with several of the attorneys involved. In total, it lasted for about 4 hours, with Costa participating through video chat from his hospital. He said that he had changed his mind now and regretted the shooting. He said that, if given the chance to go back in time, he wouldn't do it. However, this sense of regret was said to have been spotty at best, as many of his remarks showed no remorse at all. At the end of the questioning, it was said that there was no longer any doubt as to whether or not the guns in the home were stored adequately. They weren't. This likely meant that, while they were stored away, the security wasn't all that tight. The family of one of the victims filed a civil lawsuit against Costa's mother, seeking compensation for their child's death. They then filed lawsuits against Costa's father, the school, and the country in general as well. It wasn't long before Costa, his parents, and the school were found to be liable, although the country was not. Over the months, only more lawsuits came flying at the family and the school. In August alone, 27 claimants banded together on a lawsuit seeking compensation for their own kids as well. In August, Costa's mom put forth a request to resolve an issue of what would happen with her kids' schooling. While asking in regards to her innocent daughter would be understandable, she also put out feelers to see if she might be able to argue that Costa should be taken out of his mental institution so that he could attend school once again. She was told that his only option for now would be online schooling. Surprisingly, it took all the way up until the end of August for the Vladislav Ribnikar Teachers' Council to decide to expel Costa from their school. However, they were told by the Ministry of Education that they wouldn't be allowed to exclude a student from their school. They were told that, if he wished, Costa could continue his schooling at a local elementary school that teaches students who can't continue normal schooling due to health problems. It was later confirmed that Costa would be attending that school, although it wasn't said exactly how it would be done. When September came around, the new school year
at some point
started as it normally would. The school had done a lot of work renovating the school's interior in order to give the place a fresh image. The exterior and gyms were overhauled as well. 10 cedar trees were planted in pots in front of the school to honor each of the victims. In October, it came time for Costa's father to attend a hearing. The hearing was immediately hit with problems when it was found that the Institute of Forensic Medicine in Belgrade had, for reasons unknown, failed to provide medical expertise, which would be crucial to come to any sort of conclusion. This only resulted in even more delays.
Whoa.
What's that?
I just built a budgeting app and
when the history teacher injured in the shooting filed yet another lawsuit against the parents. In the next month, 2 more were filed by the parents of injured students. The trials for them began in May and June of that year. The criminal trial against the parents formally began as well. The many cases against the family, civil and criminal, continued for months. In December of 2024, their first lawsuit against them was settled. Things really grew interesting when Costa, for the first time, was let out of his mental institution, temporarily, to testify against his parents. Costa showed up to court and stood while the parents of the children he murdered watched him from behind glass in the audience. Costa admitted that he had carried out the massacre with his father's 2 guns. He said that he had found them easily as they were stored in a closet. He admitted that he had taken them out and moved them to his room, which went unnoticed for days. He said that his father had also complimented him on his shooting in the past. Many of the other details about what he said about his parents remain unknown, but a few key pieces of information have been made public. For one, Costa blamed his parents for the massacre. When it came to his father, he said, "If I didn't have my father's guns, I wouldn't have committed the massacre. The weapons were within my reach." He was even more cold towards his mother. Finally, he admitted as to his motivation for committing the attack on the school in the first place, although it's debatable as to whether or not he was being fully honest. He said that he was motivated to commit the attack by his mother's pressure, her constant demand that he must be the best at anything he ever does. He implied that this had caused him to snap. At the end of December, Costa's parents were convicted on charges relating to failing to secure their firearms. Kosta's father, Vladimir, was sentenced to 14.5 years in prison. His mother, Emilyana, was sentenced to 3 years behind bars. When it was determined that the instructor at the firing range had indeed taught Kosta how to use a gun, he himself was sentenced to 1 year and 3 months in prison. Even after being sentenced to prison, the blows just kept landing. In March of 2025, Kosta's family and the school were ordered to pay 68,000 and 111,000 euros to each party involved in the first lawsuit. Then again, in May of 2025, the family were found liable in the lawsuit taken out by the history teacher, ordered to pay out a further 58,000 euros. The third lawsuit hasn't yet reached a conclusion as to how much they will pay, but they were found liable on July 25, 2025. The other lawsuits are still pending, but given the trend, it's highly likely that the parents will lose and have to hand over even more money. While they were pretty wealthy before, it's pretty easy to assume that they will be left financially ruined and unemployable after this is all over. As of the making of this video, Kosta's parents are still in prison. Kosta himself is still sitting in a mental institution, receiving medical care and counseling instead of any sort of real punishment. It has been rumored that his life in the hospital isn't all too strict and that he's still able to interact with other kids, play on a phone, and enjoy himself. We can assume that his case is still being reviewed periodically and that at some point he will be free. He will likely get his name changed and live a somewhat normal life with no criminal record. That is a lot more than can be said about his victims.
God damn. So, honestly, I think the kid was maybe schizophrenic and something inside him just snapped, but they just didn't know. Jeez. I don't really have much to say. Damn. They don't really know what truly caused it. God damn, what is that? What is that thumbnail? That scared the fuck out of me. What the hell are you doing, Trippy Red? So guys, I actually want to do something. I've been seeing this trend of streamers voicing over anime dubs. So I'm gonna do L from Death Note. Funny.
With Google Play Games, you can play unlocked. Unlock rewards with Google.
Cosme Misa, a devilish charm, an angel's glitter. Misa's new line of lipstick. Just for you.
This dude freaked out. Look how freaked out this guy is.
Ryuzaki, the commercial's almost over.
Was that so?
So is
Ryuzaki, the commercial's almost over.
Oh, is that so? I'm gonna do the... Oh, is that so?
So is this what you meant by being together 24 hours a day with him? Looking at you, I never would have guessed. Are you on that side of the fence, Ryuzaki?
I told you I'm not doing this because I want to, okay?
But life belongs to me. Fence, Ryuzaki?
I told
you I'm not doing this because I want to.
To me. I don't want to share him with you. If you're with him 24/7, then how are we supposed to go on dates together?
Oh, you can still go on dates, but it'll have to be the three of us.
No, we're supposed to go on dates together.
Well, you could still go on dates, but it would definitely be the three of us.
Are you telling me we have to kiss in front of you and stuff?
I'm not telling you to do anything, but yes, I suppose I to do anything.
I'm not saying you do anything, but I suppose yes.
So gross! You really are a pervert, aren't you?
Light, please make Misa stop talking now.
Aren't you?
Light, please make Misa stop talking now. Light,
please make Lisa stop talking now.
This has got to be the lamest date I've ever been on.
No, please, just pretend I'm not even here, okay?
Date I've ever been on.
No, just pretend I'm not even here.
Hey, are you gonna...
I've ever been on.
No, please, just pretend I'm not even here, okay? By the way, are you gonna eat that piece of cake?
Cake makes you fat. I'm not gonna eat any.
Actually, I found that you don't gain any weight as long as you burn calories by using your brain. No.
Man, this has got to be the lamest date I've ever been on.
No, just pretend I'm not even here.
Gonna eat that piece of cake?
Cake me.
By the way.
By the way, are you gonna eat that piece of cake? Actually, it's scientifically proven that cake makes you smarter.
Now you're calling me stupid.
By using your brain. Weight as long as you burn.
Makes you fat. I'm not gonna eat any.
Actually, I found that you don't gain any weight as long as you burn calories by using your brain.
Fat.
Actually, I feel like you don't gain weight when you. What the fuck does he say?
Any.
Actually, I found that you don't gain any weight as long as you burn calories by using your brain. Are you gonna eat that piece of cake?
Cake makes you fat. I'm not gonna eat any.
Actually,
I find you don't. Actually, I find you don't gain weight as long as you burn calories using your brain.
Makes you fat. I'm not gonna.
Actually, I find you don't gain weight. You burn. Actually, I find you burn calories by actually using your brain. Actually, I find you actually burn calories by using your brain.
So now you're calling me stupid? Fine then. I'll give you the piece of cake as long as you agree to leave me and Light alone.
even if I leave you two alone, I'm still gonna be watching on surveillance cameras, so it wouldn't make any difference.
Even if I left you in there.
I'll give you the piece of cake as long as you.
Even if I did leave it alone, I have to be watching you too on security cameras.
Me and Light alone.
Even if I leave you two alone, I'm still gonna be watching on surveillance cameras.
Even if I did leave you two alone, I'll still be watching surveillance cameras.
Stop it with your creepy hobby.
You can call me whatever you like. Last chance for cake.
You can call me whatever you like. Last time for cake.
And I'll just close the curtains and turn off the lights.
We have
Close the curtains and turn off the. Your creepy hobby.
You can call
me whatever you like. It's time for cake.
Okay then. I'll just close the curtains and turn off the lights.
We have infrared cameras in here as well.
Curtains and turn off the lights.
We have infrared cameras in here as well.
It's quite simple, really. Three of the greatest detectives in the world. Elle, Coyle, and Deneuve. They're all actually me. It's been my experience that people who try to find me usually fall for this. It's quite simple, really. Three of the greatest detectives in the world. Elle, Coyle, and Deneuve. They're all actually me. It's red cameras in here as well.
It's actually quite simple. Three of the best detectives in the world. Elle, and me. Wait.
Elle, Coyle, and Deneuve. They're all actually me. It's been my experience that people who try to find me usually fall for this.
It's been my experience that usually people who try to find me usually fall for this.
I'll give you this strawberry if you keep it a secret, okay? My experience.
I'll give you a strawberry if you keep this a secret. I'll give you a strawberry if you keep this a secret. I'm gonna try to do Ryuk now. Ryuk.
For cart wranglers, no savings go to you.
Real iPhone, no prices at all. Go run fast. Hey y'all, stop what y'all doing. If y'all want a real
No reason to act surprised. I am the Shinigami Ryuk.
I've already got what I want.
Quite a liking to... You've taken quite a liking to it.
You've taken quite a liking to it.
No reason to act surprised. I am the Shinigami Ryuk. That used to be my notebook. Judging by your laugh, to act surprised.
No need to act surprised. I am the Shinigami Ryuk. That notebook used to be mine.
Judging by your laughter, you've already figured out that what you have is no ordinary note laughter.
Judging by your laughter, you already figured out that no... What?
You've already figured out that what you have is no ordinary notebook.
Judging by your laughter, you already figured out. Wait, it's here. Judging by your laughter, you already figured out what you have is no ordinary notebook.
Have is no ordinary notebook.
Shinigami, a god of death, huh? Well, I'm not surprised. In fact, Ryuk, I've been waiting for you.
Oh?
I've already figured out that this death note I found is real. It didn't take me long. And now that I've witnessed the proof of its power, I only feel more confident in what I'm gonna do.
That's interesting. I certainly wasn't expecting this. Several death notes have made their way into the human world in the past, but you're the first to have written this many names.
That's interesting. Several death notes have made their way in the past.
Their way into the human world.
Gonna do.
That's interesting. I certainly wasn't expecting this.
That's interesting. I certainly wasn't expecting this.
Several death notes have made their way into the human world in the past.
Several death notes have made their way into the notebook in the past.
But you're the first to have written this many names. First to have written this many names.
But you're the first to have written this many names.
Look at how many people you've killed in only 5 days. Most are reluctant to write this much.
I've already prepared myself, Ryuk. I used the notebook even though I knew it belonged to a Shinigami. And now that Shinigami has come. So what'll happen to me? You're here to take my soul, right?
Huh? What do you mean? Is that some fantasy you humans came up with? I'm not gonna do anything to you.
Right?
Huh?
What? Is that some fantasy you humans came up with? I'm not gonna do anything to you.
Notebook becomes part of the human realm. The notebook becomes part of the human realm from the very moment it touches the earth. In other words, the notebook is now yours. Book becomes part of the human realm from the very moment it touches the earth. Do anything to you.
That notebook becomes part of the human earth as soon as it touches the human realm.
Mine? If you don't want, book is now yours. From the very moment. The notebook becomes part of the human realm from the very moment it touches the earth. In other words, the notebook is now.
That notebook becomes part of the human world as soon as it touches the human realm. That notebook is now yours.
If you don't want it, just the notebook is now yours.
This is mine?
If you don't want it, just give it to someone else.
This is mine?
If you don't want it, just give it to someone else.
If you give it away, I'd have no choice but to erase your memories of us. But if you... I'd have no choice but to want it, just give it to someone else. But if you give it away, I'd have no choice but to erase your memories of the notebook. But if you give it away,
I have no choice but to erase your memories of the notebook.
So then, you're saying I can use the Death Note all I want and I won't be punished?
let's just say this. You will feel the fear and pain known only to humans who've used the notebook.
Let's just say this. You only know the fear and pain humans know using the notebook.
And when it's your time to die, it will fall on me to write your name in my death note. When it's your time to die, it will...
And when it's your time to die, it will come time for me to write your name in my death notes.
In my death note. Be warned, any human who's used a death note can neither go to heaven nor hell for eternity. Be warned, any human who's used a death note can neither go to heaven nor hell for eternity. In my death note.
Be warned, any human who uses the death note cannot go to heaven or hell.
Eternity. Can neither go to heaven nor hell for eternity. That's all. Go to heaven nor hell for death note. Be warned, any human who's used a death note can neither go to heaven nor hell for eternity. That's all. Now you have something to look forward to after you die.
I will become the god of this new...
Hey, Light, you know, that deal I mentioned is still open. It's just like putting on contact lenses. It was good while it lasted. We eased each other's boredom for quite a while. It was good.
It was good while it lasted. We eased each other's boredoms for a while.
Well, Light, it's been interesting.
Well, Light, it's been interesting. Chat, how'd I do? 1 to 10, how good was that? Do you think I did better Ryuk? I think I did a better Ryuk than I did L. That was pretty fun, actually. Ryuk, like, his voice acting in English is like so, it's just so fun. It's just so fun to do. Because he's just like a cynical asshole. He's like, he just doesn't really give a shit. Was it? Hold on, chat. Japan is everything wrong with society. So guys, this is the new next video we're gonna check out. By Moon. I don't think I've seen this guy before. But you know, Japan has its problems. Every country has its problems. No country's paradise. That's a myth. Every country has issues. Every country deals with shit. You know, it is what it is.
At a ferry leaving Tokyo destined for Kyushu, the southernmost island in Japan, one of several isolated locations where hundreds of Japanese people flee in the night. Around 100,000 people disappear in Japan every year, but these are not people who have gone missing in suspicious circumstances. Instead, they're part of Juhatsu, which literally translates as evaporated or evaporated people. People who voluntarily escape their lives in the middle of the night. They pack what little they can carry, leaving no forwarding address, and just simply vanish. This isn't just a handful of desperate individuals. We're talking about the equivalent of a small city of people choosing to delete themselves from existence every single year. Some even hire specialist night moving services that help them relocate under cover of darkness to avoid detection. While some flee to the periphery, others find themselves in very poor districts like Kamagasaki and Osaka, otherwise known as the Skid Row of Japan, which have become like slums, something most people don't associate.
It's like the ghetto, their own version of the ghetto.
With a country known for being high-tech and ultra-clean. Some report not seeing their families for some 40 years, their wives and parents saying they just left with the clothes they had on. The Juhatsu often flee debt or brutal job situations with low pay and grueling hours. Others are fleeing domestic abuse, partly driven by society's obsession with shame and the idea that family issues should remain private at all costs. And this is far from the only disturbing phenomenon that brings us inside modern Japan, a society in terminal decline, something that's uniquely Japanese, but also a deeply horrifying warning for where the rest of the West is headed. Japan is quite literally everything wrong with society, because some people in modern Japan don't just have the will or courage to run away like the Juhatsu. They choose a different way to retreat from society, finding themselves to
Well, you know, they deal with higher stress and like, you know, their jobs and everything. So sometimes, you know, you just want to run away, you know.
Single room and rarely contacting the outside world. This is the bedroom of a hikikomori, one of Japan's 1.5 million social recluses who have voluntarily withdrawn from society. The windows are covered with thick blackout curtains blocking any trace.
How do they know like he ran away? Because if it's supposed to like separate you from society.
Of natural light. Empty convenience store bento boxes are stacked in towers beside a kitchen sink that hasn't been used in months. A gaming setup that might have once been worth thousands of dollars next to a bucket used as a makeshift toilet to avoid leaving the room. You might think this kind of setup belongs to a teenager, but many hikikomori are middle-aged men who have barely left their homes in years. Some live in a room in their parents' house, a situation known in Japan as the 80-50 problem. It involves elderly parents supporting their middle-aged children. There are hundreds of thousands of these arrangements across Japan, hidden and support their middle-aged children. There are hundreds of thousands of these arrangements across Japan, hidden behind closed doors in ordinary suburban houses. Sound familiar? In America, more 25 to 35-year-olds now live with their parents than ever, the highest rate since the Great Depression. It's the same in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, and
This economy, shit's rough. That's all I'll say.
Becoming more common in most European countries, where kids always used to just leave their home as teens. Instead, we just call this a cost of living crisis, but Japan shows us where this leads when it becomes permanent. Really, they're just a few years ahead of the West. The parent or parent, nearly always a single mother, are forced to accept the situation despite it bringing shame on the family. For those who won't escape or seal themselves off from the world, there's a more permanent exit route. Japan's unaliving rate has declined in recent years, but is still exceptionally high for a developed country. But what's strange about it really isn't the numbers, it's how society views it. In most Western countries, unaliving oneself carries heavy moral stigma. In Japan, not so much, as many still believe it's better to die than live in disgrace, an ancient mindset dating back to the samurai era that hasn't completely
Yeah, the die with honor bullshit.
Completely disappeared. During the 2008 financial crisis, rates soared as people viewed it as taking responsibility for their failures. Train delays due to human incidents are so common in Tokyo and other cities that train operators are coming up with some creative solutions, like installing blue mood lighting at metro stations and playing catchy melodies to distract people from their thoughts. These forms of extreme escape are all just the tip of a much bigger iceberg. They tell us about something happening on a much wider scale across Japan. Millions of Japanese people, especially the younger generations, are retreating from social life, and this all helps explain why the country is on the brink of a huge demographic collapse. The fertility rate has crashed to just 1.15, meaning the average Japanese woman will barely have one child in her lifetime. In Tokyo, where almost everyone lives, it's even worse, with the fertility rate falling below 1 for 2 consecutive years. For perspective, you need a fertility rate of just 2.1 to maintain your population. At this rate, Japan's population could more than halve in less than 100 years. It's actually really difficult to get your head around what this means. Just imagine the town or city where you're living in right now and cut half of everyone out of the picture. We're talking ghost towns, hospitals without staff, trains and buses without drivers. Low birth rates are definitely a global issue, dropping below replacement levels across Europe and the US. You'll struggle to find a Western country where fertility hasn't hit record lows. Across the UK and most of Europe, women are just having one child at most. And if we carry on like this, by 2100, only 6 countries in the world are expected to have fertility rates above replacement levels. We're all sliding down that same demographic cliff. In Japan, the impacts
Scary. We're all kind of just following that path.
are everywhere. There are an insane 9 million properties sitting empty across the country right now, and thousands of schools are being forced to close, which not only concentrates people in the cramped cities, but also results in huge job losses. The truth is, this demographic death spiral is so bad that people aren't even trying to find partners anymore. In fact, nearly 30% of unmarried Japanese adults have never been in a single relationship. Compare this to America, where only 6
No wonder they have a high incel rate. No wonder the anime is kind of just, it could be like very incelish a lot of times. No anime, something.
60% of young men are now single, double the rate for women. Dating apps have turned relationships into a commodity market where most women compete for the minority of men, leaving everyone else behind. Dating apps are also flooded with people who never actually want to meet. In fact, it's even hard to find a plain normal photo of anyone at all. And when dates do happen in real life, cultural conventions tend to get in the way for both Japanese people and outsiders. Casual meeting is seen as too forward. Formal dating is seen as too serious. There are so many barriers, and the shame of failure is extreme on top, which only pushes people towards a more dystopian virtual form of dating driven by virtual relationships. AI girlfriend apps have exploded in popularity, but some companies have taken it to the next level. The Gatebox device offers a holographic companion named Azuma Hikari, who lives in a glass cylinder inside your living room. She'll text you throughout the day, controls your smart home devices, and provides emotional support whenever you need it. And
This guy.
the day controls your smart home devices and provides emotional support whenever you need it.
This guy just looks like an incel. He just looks like he owns something like that. He just looks like he watches the weird type of shit anime.
And since its release in 2016, the company has issued 4,000 marriage certificates
16, oh my god. Yep, they're ahead of the curve.
to men who have wed their digital companions.
So culture, have a curve.
While the West faces a dating crisis, Japan just said screw it and industrialized the entire thing. The sex industry there isn't only about hooking up, it's about buying human connection. Host and hostesses bars where you literally pay someone to sit there, listen to your day, laugh at your terrible jokes, and act like they're interested in whatever boring stuff you want to talk about. As for Japanese women, there's this idea called the Christmas cake mentality. Women like Christmas cakes become undesirable after the 25th. You're supposed to find a husband and start having babies before 26, or you're considered damaged goods. Many also need to work full-time because single incomes don't cut it anymore. The beauty standards that enforce
you, just you, building your app on Base 44.
This are absolutely brutal. Double eyelid surgery has become so normal that parents give it as a high school graduation gift. There are videos of girls as young as 9 being put through cosmetic procedures mostly to make them look more Western. Skin whitening products dominate every drug.
White supremacy bullshit, that's all I'll say.
Are absolutely brutal. Double eyelid surgery has become so normal. You're supposed to find a husband and start having babies before 26, or you're considered damaged goods. Many also need to work full-time because single incomes don't cut it anymore. The beauty standards that enforce this are absolutely brutal. Double eyelid surgery has become so normal that parents give it as a high school graduation gift. There are videos of girls as young as 9 being put through cosmetic procedures mostly to make them look more Western. Skin whitening products dominate every drugstore with names like Snow Angel and Pure Ivory. Having
Oh my god! I know, like Japan, like they view Europe like Germany, because World War II, and during the 40s, the whole thing. But goddamn, like they really some just weird obsession with Europe.
plain skin signals you're refined, wealthy, marriage material. Ever feel like you're stuck in a habit you don't even think about? Maybe it's something you reach for during stressful moments while hanging out with friends or just out of boredom. I've been there. That's why I was excited about
Free promo.
Aged, along with already added fume top. You can get even weirder though, as Japan has an entire industry based around renting friends, family members, or co-workers. The famous German film and documentary maker Werner Herzog followed one of these companies called Family Romance, which employs 1,200 actors who can play any role you need. Some roles are never supposed to end. For example, the founder was hired by a mother to play the father of a 12-year-old girl for several years. One client who hired a wife and daughter seems happy.
It's always like in character.
For the company. They have regular meals together, creating the illusion of family life for someone whose real family is gone. Just think about this for a second. A grown man paying actors to pretend to be his family, eating dinner with them night after night, knowing it's all fake but preferring it to the alternative, which is eating alone. It shows the extremes Japan has resorted to fix something people can relate to everywhere.
So robotic.
It all feels profoundly Japanese, yet so very recognizable. Compare that to the West, where we're doing the exact same things but with extra steps and often more guilt. Where we have parasocial relationships with online influencers, huge explosions in things like OnlyFans and campsites.
I mean, I think Korean also has that problem, with like the K-pop idolization thing. Where, like these people look up to like this idol. Like they have it's a very one-sided relationship.
Where you can watch your favorite streamers sleep. It seems like we're all starting to buy the same product that Japan is, but we're just less direct about admitting it. So why has it come to this? Why is Japan's extreme culture destroying its youth and ultimately the entire country? Well, we can find some answers in Japan's notoriously brutal workplace. Japan's economic miracle, which started in the 60s and saw its economy grow by some 10% every year for over a decade, was built on a simple promise. Work hard, be loyal to your company, and you will be rewarded with a job for life, a decent salary, and social respect. However, this promise has been thoroughly broken in recent years. The American dream promised the exact same thing. Work hard, get a degree, buy a house, support a family. Now you need multiple jobs to afford rent, let alone home ownership. The social contract is breaking down everywhere. To understand why, you have to go back to the 1980s when everyone thought Japan was going to take over the world. Japanese companies were buying up Manhattan real estate and Hollywood studios. Business schools were teaching Japanese management techniques because they felt it would dominate everything. People like Steve Jobs marveled at Japan's product engineering.
It's funny, the group of people that do not use quality in their marketing are the Japanese. You never see them using quality in their marketing. It's only the American companies that do.
So they only use quantity?
And yet, if you ask people on the street which products have the best reputation for quality, they will tell you the Japanese products. Now, why is that? How could that be? The answer is because customers don't form their opinions on quality from marketing. They don't form their opinions on quality from who won the Deming Award or who won the Baldrige Award. They form their opinions on quality from their own experience with the products or the services.
The country seemed unstoppable, but then the bubble burst in 1991 and Japan entered what economists called the lost decades, 30 years of economic stagnation that continues to this day. Property values collapsed, the banks failed, and companies started mass layoffs. But instead of adapting, Japan doubled down. The corporate hierarchy remained, the work culture just intensified to make up the difference. Walk through Shimbashi Station at 2 a.m. today and it's very common to see men in suits strewn across the roads and sidewalks. These are Japan's salarymen, office workers who've collapsed on the streets, sometimes from exhaustion, sometimes from alcohol, often a mixture of the two. Until everyone had a camera on their phone, most probably wouldn't have imagined the carnage brought upon Japan's richest districts at night. But that's exactly what it looks like, with bodies slumped on the roadside, vomit on the floors, police dragging people off the metro platforms, and rubbish piled up and overflowing out of the bins. In some cases, these salarymen will be returning from nomikai, mandatory corporate drinking sessions that aren't really optional if you want to keep your job. The rules are bizarre and deeply hierarchical. Junior employees must constantly refill their seniors' glasses but never pour their own drinks. You're expected to match your boss drink for drink, even if he's twice your size and has been doing this for decades. Leaving before your superior is considered deeply insulting. Some stay out all night until the first train starts running again at 5 AM. It's not uncommon to head into clinics for an IV drip of electrolytes and nutrients to somehow function at work the next day. Look at this one, which advertises itself for those in Tokyo seeking quick recovery after social drinking events, those with fatigue and dehydration after alcohol consumption. Or this one, recommended for those who have consumed too much alcohol. Travelers have been heading to 7-Eleven shops and pointing out the huge selection of colorful bottles the Japanese have invented to cure hangovers. But that's sometimes not enough, because for those who can't handle it, there's always karoshi, literally meaning death from overwork. Thousands of families file compensation claims annually for people dying from their jobs, though the real number is much higher.
State broadcaster NHK.
What should we order?
Pizza, tacos, gochujang chicken.
Phone race for the order tonight.
Revealed one of its reporters, 31-year-old Miwa Sato, had died from heart failure after working near 14-hour days. It took 4 years for NHK.
Wait, so it could just like be passed out like just on the floor or whatever. And like that's like no big deal to him. That bro just overworked. He's done. And they just collapsed on the dirty ass floor, like,
HK to announce Sato's death. Parents accuse the network of a cover-up.
The reality is that in Japan, workers are working ridiculous hours.
American labor activist Louis Codlett says such sacrifice is seen as a virtue here.
There's a strong cultural norm that you have to devote everything to the company, and you're a corporate warrior, and I think that's what really pushes people over the edge.
We might call it burnout, but the reality is that most people in the West don't actually work much less than the Japanese anymore, and we're catching up rapidly. And at least the Japanese have more public and legal holidays than Americans, with 16 national holidays.
Japan, 16 public holidays. India, 17 national holidays plus dozen more by region. So 12 national holidays plus state holidays. 11 national holidays. All the... Okay, so like, they all have like national holidays, but like Korea and Japan, they both have only public holidays.
Compared to America's 12 federal holidays. And the US is still one of the only industrialized nations with no statutory minimum requirement for paid vacation days, while Japan guarantees up to 20 annual leave days by law depending on years of service. So maybe the health problems we're seeing from overwork in Japan are something we can look forward to down the line too. However, Japan has always had a really extreme work culture where dedication is valued and rejecting it is viewed as impolite. Progress comes from sacrifice, and some companies go too far by deliberately exploiting these values. They're called black companies, which are technically legal but engage in business practices that would be illegal elsewhere in the world. One former employee decided to document his experience working for one of these companies, filming his daily routine and explaining the system from the inside. The footage follows him through a typical day, leaving for work before dawn, working a 12-hour shift, eating dinner alone while his family sleeps. What do you think kids think when they become aware of all of this? What's their rational response? Don't engage with any of it. Over 300,000 Japanese students have simply stopped attending school. They've decided the entire system is just pointless. Some gather at Tokyo Plaza, where there's hundreds of kids essentially homeless and living in mango cafes, and you can see them attending school.
Just like, fuck at this point. I mean, I mean, American education is kind of cooked, so it's kind of like, you know, the same shit.
Decided the entire system is just pointless. Some gather at Tokyo Plaza where there's hundreds of kids essentially homeless and living in mango cafes, and you can see them talking to salarymen late at night. Again, people probably don't think of truancy when they think of Japan, a country known for its discipline. One observer walking through the area documented what he found.
Right there, you see them? Some of them, they're like sleeping on the floor.
Kids sleeping rough. Like there's like a girl dressed up as a maid there just hanging out on the floor. They're homeless kids who have come from the countryside. Okay.
And they're just looking for the companies. Like friends. Oh, you could say like 14 to 18. You could be any age, doesn't matter. It's almost like Akihabara. Anyone can be accepted in this town. So you can be homeless, you can be hooker, you can be a gambler, you can be a yakuza, doesn't matter. You can be here.
When children or adults turn to homelessness or otherwise reject traditional Japanese society, it's irreversible. The shame is too much for the family to handle and they shut their doors, and there's often no way back. Kids who aren't on the streets often disappear into virtual worlds. Gaming addiction affects nearly 20% of Japanese youth, but calling it addiction misses the point. These kids know that their digital achievements are safer than the real ones. The isekai anime genre has exploded, roughly translating as born in another world. These are stories about ordinary people transported to fantasy worlds where they actually matter. It's a subtle difference to normal fantasy, as the theme here is escaping to somewhere else where you know you have a chance. Compare that to real life, where you can follow every rule perfectly and still end up collapsed on a sidewalk from exhaustion, with no kids, no family, and no real purpose. While other countries try to solve or deny their dysfunction, they turn theirs into an art form, creating manga, anime, and video games that don't just depict social isolation and despair, but celebrate and monetize it. What's so fascinating when you walk around parts of Japan is how the physical environment seems to mirror all of this social dysfunction. Take the sheer density of vending machines, for instance. Japan has 5 million of them, that's one for every 25 people. You can buy hot coffee, cold beer, fresh flowers for birthdays and funerals, even entire meals without ever having to speak to anyone. We're already getting there in our own way though, with self-service checkouts everywhere, Uber Eats and groceries delivered to your doorstep, and fewer places to actually go out and socialize. People are working remotely more than ever. Nearly half of Americans live day to day without seeing anyone face to face. And yet Japan is still worse than everywhere else. The entire place is built to just be alone, to eat by yourself, to do all activities by yourself. The idol industry is another, which tells us about how humans have become commodities. People are obsessed with them and the industry preys on it. For one group called AKB48, the more records fans purchase, the more opportunities they have to shake hands with the band members. One fan bought 3,000 CDs in support of his favorite act, going into debt in the process just to get more chances at these brief encounters. Over 10,000 teenage girls are idols and counting, and the underground scene gets even more intense. Underground idols appear at shady venues, sometimes for small audiences, and face insane work commitments. Dating bans are enforced because they're necessary for idols to win the support of male fans. They work whenever their bosses need them to, do whatever they want, and are often binded by contracts they cannot break. When
Is that the same shit as the K-pop?
you zoom out, you see the symptoms are just everywhere. Young adults are living with parents because rent consumes their futures. People find themselves swiping through dating apps for months without ever actually meeting anyone. Jobs grind
That's America too.
people down and barely cover their basic expenses. Japan's dystopian solutions might be more creative and extreme, as that's in their cultural DNA, but in some way there's still solutions. While walking out of a job or cutting ties with family is an extremely difficult thing for most, for some it's just pragmatic, it's survival. It's why Japan is just a beta test for our coming future dystopia. It isn't some exotic warning from the future, it's Tuesday in Tokyo and it might be coming to a city near you. And thank you Fume for sponsoring this video.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Japan, you know, they're not wrong with saying Japan is ahead of shit, you know? Alright guys, I have like a splitting headache, so I think I'm gonna like end it here. So thank you guys for watching. You know, I appreciate every one of you who watches. Okay. You know, I hope you all have a good day. I hope I made one of you laugh, and I'm not very good at these types of things, but hope you all have a good day.